The story begins with a morning that feels almost too peaceful, sunlight spilling across rooftops, birds chirping, and a city easing into its daily rhythm, unaware of the blood spilled in its shadows just hours before. Down one of those quiet streets trudges a boy, uniform slightly rumpled, rubbing the last traces of sleep from his eyes. To the world, he's just another student heading to school. Kai Shinjo, 17. Ordinary. Unremarkable. At least that's what everyone believes. But this morning marks the final page of his normal life, and the first spark of a story that will change everything. Kai rubs at his tired eyes, his expression flat and drained. After another sleepless night, the weight of exhaustion clings to him. Working until dawn, then heading straight to school. It's a routine he's long since grown used to. A routine no one here knows is because he lives a second life, one as an assassin. Outside, the school grounds come into view as flocks of birds scatter overhead. The calm morning atmosphere stands in stark contrast to the world Kai moves through at night. Inside the classroom, students are already gathered in small groups. Laughter and constant chatter spill through the room, a lively scene Kai always feels strangely disconnected from. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as the room began to rattle, prompting Kai to fix his gaze forward with a tense seriousness, instinctively reacting to the abrupt disturbance. He slides the classroom door open. His face remains unreadable, tinted with the fatigue he refuses to show. The metal frame rattles softly, announcing his arrival despite his attempt to slip in quietly. Immediately, murmurs ripple through the room. A few students turn their heads, whispering to each other as Kai walks past. Someone points him out. He's arrived, and the class's attention shifts for a brief moment. Shuji Mito, the ever-cheerful ace of the soccer team and the de facto leader of the class, greets him with an easy smile. He lifts a hand in a friendly wave, undeterred by Kai's cold demeanor. Kai barely responds. Instead, he drags his chair out with little interest, dismissing Shuji's greeting entirely as he lowers himself into his seat. A single word, uncaring and clipped, falls from him before he settles in. Before Shuji can even process the brush-off, Kai's head is already down on the desk. The boy who spent his night eliminating a target now looks like someone who simply fell asleep in class. Shuji can only stare, caught between amusement and exasperation. From across the room, a girl clicks her tongue. Reina Nagase, the class's queen bee, watches Kai with clear irritation. His attitude gets under her skin, and she doesn't bother hiding her disdain. To her, he's rude, unapproachable, and impossible to understand. She turns her frustration toward Shuji, questioning why he even bothers being friendly with someone like Kai. Shuji simply shrugs it off. Kai is still their classmate, after all. He urges her not to be so harsh, though Reina remains unconvinced as she glares at the sleeping boy. Shuji tries to smooth things over, insisting that Kai is simply exhausted, but Reina folds her arms, unimpressed. Whether tired or not, she mutters, his attitude still rubs her the wrong way. Just then, the classroom door rattles open again. A tall, rough-looking boy steps inside, his expression already dark and assessing the room with an irritated glare. Reina's face instantly contorts with even deeper annoyance. She turns away from Kai's desk, muttering that someone even worse has just arrived, an unwelcome presence that immediately shifts the room's atmosphere. The newcomer is Shunsuke Erasure, infamous throughout the school. With a reputation as the leader of a delinquent group, his very presence makes students straighten up or look away. A couple of underclassmen scramble to greet him with exaggerated enthusiasm, calling out to him respectfully. Shunsuke acknowledges them with a casual wave, barely giving them a second glance. As the chatter settles, his gaze sweeps the classroom, and lands on the quiet figure sleeping at the far end. His eyes narrow, irritation flaring instantly. Kai remains hunched over his desk, still asleep, completely unaware of the heavy footsteps approaching him. Shunsuke clicks his tongue, clearly displeased. Delinquent towers over Kai, shouting to get his attention. His voice echoes through the classroom, sharp and impatient, but Kai doesn't move an inch. Kai continues sleeping soundly, oblivious to the commotion around him. The soft rhythm of his breathing only seems to enrage Shunsuke further. Fuming, Shunsuke's voice rises again. He glares down at Kai, outraged that the boy dares sleep while he, Shunsuke Erasure, is talking to him. To him, Kai's peaceful rest is an insult, proof, he thinks, that the boy has it far too easy. Shunsuke finally loses his patience and reaches out, shouting as he grabs for Kai's arm. But before his hand can close around him, Kai's own arm shoots up with startling speed, intercepting him effortlessly. Shunsuke's eyes widen in disbelief as Kai's grip clamps around his wrist. The sudden counter leaves him frozen, a jolt of shock spreading across his face. Kai slowly stirs, stretching with a lazy yawn as though he hasn't just neutralized a furious delinquent leader mid-grab. Still groggy, Kai opens his eyes and fixes Shunsuke with a flat, unamused stare. He tightens his grip ever so slightly as he asks, in a tone that borders on bored irritation, why Shunsuke is bothering him when he's clearly trying to sleep. Shunsuke snarls, face turning red as he tries to yank his hand free. Rage twists his expression. How dare someone like Kai manhandle him? A strange distortion ripples through Shunsuke's body. For a moment, it's as if his movements glitch, locking him in place against his will. A faint cracking sound fills the air, invisible threads restraining him. Kai releases him with casual ease, as if fixing some minor inconvenience. He mutters an offhand apology, telling Shunsuke he should be able to move now. Shunsuke staggers back the moment he's freed, stumbling a step away from Kai while clutching his wrist. The overwhelming dominance he held moments ago is nowhere to be seen. Furious and humiliated, Shunsuke recoils, calling Kai a creep as he glares down at his shaking hand, still not fully understanding what just happened. A calm voice cuts through the tension, telling them both to quiet down. Rin Kanzaki, the school's composed beauty, barely looks up from her book as she chides them. Elegant and collected, she radiates an effortless poise that makes everyone else seem loud in comparison. Erasure turns, irritation still lingering in his expression. He glares sharply, as if daring someone else to challenge him. His voice is low and confrontational. Now what? Do you want to start something too? Before he can escalate the situation, someone steps between him and the imagined confrontation. A girl pops into view, blocking his path with a sudden, sharp movement. Erasure freezes mid-stride, surprised. The girl scolds him sternly, jabbing a finger upward. She warns him he's dangerously close to breaking the school rules again. Mireille Hashimoto, student ID number 29, well known for being strict and dutiful, a model member of the student council. And another voice interjects lightly, trying to diffuse the tension. Hey, come on, he says, almost amused. He warns Erasure that if he keeps acting like this, he's gonna get himself knocked out one day. Erasure snaps back instantly. Nobody asked you. This is Ryoya Narumi, student ID number 23, carefree, loud, and a troublemaker by nature. Arashi's irritation only grows. His eyes drift back toward the boy who caused all this fuss in the first place. Still asleep, still snoring faintly, Erasure grits his teeth, clicking his tongue in annoyance. Throws himself into a chair, slamming his foot down onto the desk with a loud bang, making half the class jump. Arms crossed, he radiates pure frustration. Around the room, quiet murmurs ripple through the students. Whispers and hushed comments fill the air, the chaos of a typical school morning settling back in. Rin Kanzaki, elegant and composed, glances up from her book. With a small sigh, barely more than a whisper, she lets out a dismissive, humph. Nothing in this class seems to surprise her anymore. A wide snapshot of the classroom captures the lively mood. Kamizo High School, second year, Class 1. A room filled with personalities that clash constantly, loud and unpredictable. Amid this noisy environment, one boy remains untouched by the chaos. Head resting against folded arms, he continues sleeping peacefully as sunlight washes over him. Just another ordinary day in a classroom full of troublemakers. As the classroom continues its noisy routine, Kai's eyes suddenly snap open. A faint tremor runs through his body, an instinctive flinch he can't ignore. A strange sensation ripples through the air, cutting through his drowsiness like a blade. Darkness swallows his senses for a moment, sharpening his awareness. What's this? Something is wrong, terribly wrong. Kai remains motionless on the outside, but his instincts roar awake. He can feel it clearly now, an unfamiliar energy pulsing in the room. I sense something, he thinks, scanning without lifting his head. His gaze shifts just enough to pinpoint the source. A faint blue glow is leaking out from beneath Shuji's desk. Is it coming from under Shuji's desk? Suddenly, the light intensifies. A bright surge erupts outward, illuminating the classroom floor with blinding blue. The air trembles as a magical circle begins to pulse to life. The circle expands rapidly, geometric patterns interlocking with a fierce hum. Energy shoots upward in pillars of light, filling the room with a deafening whoosh. Students finally notice, screams bursting from their throats. Some stumble back, others freeze in terror as the glowing sigils crawl up the walls. What is that? The floor trembles violently. Lines of light carve themselves across the tiles, sealing everyone inside the widening magic circle. Panic erupts. What's happening? The entire classroom is now engulfed in light. Desks shake, chairs slide, and students cling to anything they can. A wave of energy sweeps through the room with a thunderous swoosh. The summoning has fully activated. One student gulps, eyes wide with fear as the blinding glow surrounds him. What they? But before he can finish, another voice rises, calmer, urgent. Questions can wait. Everyone, get out of the classroom. Kai knows the truth. His eyes glow faintly as he mutters to himself. It's already too late. A blinding white void washes over everything, swallowing the classroom whole. The sound of reality tearing apart is muffled beneath the roaring swoosh as the summoning completes. The light finally fades. The students lie scattered across a cold stone floor. Dust drifts through the air like falling snow, the remnants of whatever transported them here. Kai is the first to regain consciousness. He pushes himself upright with a soft spring of movement, eyes narrowing as he surveys the unfamiliar surroundings. Where am I? He takes in the structure carefully, towering stone columns, ancient walls, a single massive door at the far end. It looks like a stone structure. The only cover is behind those thick columns. Kai studies the entrance. There's no mistaking it. There's only one way in or out. His thoughts sharpen as the memory of the classroom returns. That magic circle, that impossible burst of light. I know it sounds impossible, he thinks, but that flash teleported our entire class here. One by one, the students begin to stir. Confusion spreads as they climb to their feet, groaning. Huh? What happened? Where are we? Panic begins to take hold. Why are we here? What was that blinding light? Their voices echo against the stone walls, trembling with fear. Yuji steps forward, trying to regain control of the situation. Everyone, calm down, he urges, forcing steady breaths. I don't know what's happening, but I need to make sure everyone's all right. Kai watches quietly from the side, acknowledging Shuji's effort with a faint nod. Good call. Thanks to him, everyone's starting to settle down. But not everyone is reassured. Erasure clicks his tongue in irritation, muttering, what a waste of time. Shunsuke takes charge again, insisting they focus on figuring out what's going on. Without hesitation, he calls two classmates to follow him, and they hurry after him across the stone floor. Kai watches them leave, weighing Shunsuke's decision. He's not wrong, Kai thinks, but something feels off. Before Shunsuke gets far, Kai speaks up, stopping him in place. Shunsuke turns, confused and annoyed by the interruption. Kai's eyes remain fixed on the massive doors ahead. He senses something. There are footsteps, he warns. Someone is on the other side of that door. The students freeze, startled. Shunsuke grits his teeth, whipping his head toward the door. The tension thickens as everyone instinctively takes a step back. Kai listens carefully again. Not just one, he realizes. Two sets of footsteps, distinct, steady, draw closer. A man and a woman. Blinding light spills from the cracks as the door slowly opens. Kai's thoughts sharpen. The real question isn't who they are, but what they want with us. The doors part fully, revealing two figures illuminated by the glow. An elegant woman in flowing robes and a stern man dressed like a knight. Their presence alone silences the room. The woman steps forward with a gentle smile, praising the class for calming down so quickly. Her voice is serene, almost comforting, as she calls them hero candidates. Whispers erupt among the students, comments about her beauty, confusion over their medieval-looking clothes, and disbelief at the mention of heroes. Uncertainty spreads, mixing awe with panic. Kai keeps to the shadows, quietly analyzing the pair. The man's stance, build, and controlled movements betray years of discipline. He's no performer, Kai decides. That's a real swordsman. Kai quietly evaluates the woman, noting that while she seems trained to some degree, nothing about her presence suggests anything extraordinary. As the pair steps forward, the woman formally introduces herself, Leonora, the Grand Priestess of the Holy Nation of Degarast. and gestures to the stern man at her side, naming him as her escort, Gaius. One of the students snaps, pointing accusingly as he insists that such a nation doesn't exist, convinced this is all some elaborate joke. Leonora simply smiles through his outburst, assuring him that this is no prank, though she understands why they might think so. Another student steps forward apologetically, explaining that everyone is still struggling to understand what's happening to them. Trying to appear calm, he offers a polite smile, asking if the two mysterious figures might explain the situation to them. Leonora nods gently, confirming that explaining the situation is precisely why she has come. Softly, she begins her explanation, stating she will put it as simply as she can. She reveals the truth at last. They have been summoned to another world. As hero candidates, they are humanity's final hope against a merciless demon lord. Students murmur anxiously, struggling to accept her words. One of them rubs his neck awkwardly, admitting that this entire story is hard to believe. Another quickly agrees, finding it impossible to make sense of their situation. The old knight erupts with fury, snapping at the reckless student to hold his tongue. To him, the priestess isn't just a woman. She's the saintess of an entire nation, someone deserving of reverence, not mockery. But Shunsuke refuses to back down. He fires back with equal intensity, threatening the knight without hesitation. His pride burns too brightly to let anyone, especially an old man, talk down to him. The knight's expression darkens. With a chilling calm, he declares that such insolence must be corrected. His gloved hand begins to move, reaching toward the hilt of his sword. Before he can act, the priestess gently intervenes. She tells him to stop, trying to soothe the tension. Yet the boy, fueled by ignorance and adrenaline, still bristles, refusing to accept being lectured by strangers from another world. The reckless student lunges forward with a roar, launching himself at the knight. In his mind, the situation has crossed a line, and he's ready to settle it with his fists. Watching from a distance, Kai narrows his eyes. Charging someone armed with a sword is madness, he thinks, but he has to admit the guy's guts are impressive. Shunsuke grits his teeth, confident in his experience. He's fought weapon-wielding opponents before. Bare fists can win if you slip past the first strike and close the distance. All he needs is one opening. But the knight moves first. His sword flashes faster than the eye can track. A clean, precise arc that slices through the air toward the charging student. Boy freezes mid-step, realization crashing into him. He didn't even see the blade move. A thin line of blood trickles down his cheek. The knight warns him coldly. The cut was shallow, this time. Gasps echo through the hall as the other students recoil in fear. The danger, the speed, the blood, everything strikes them at once. Reality settles in. This world is nothing like their own. Leonora's calm voice cuts through the tension as she steps forward. She tells the knight he has made his point, gently commanding him to sheath his sword. Reluctantly, Gaius obeys with a stiff nod. Facing the shaken students, Leonora offers a formal apology for her knight's aggressive display. She reassures them with steady conviction. They mean no harm, and violence is not their intent. Another student watched intently, brows knitted with determination as Leonora promises that they will explain everything, the truth of this unfamiliar world they've been dragged into. Kai listened from afar. Not only will they explain the nature of this world, they will reveal the real reason these students were summoned in the first place. Leonora's golden eye glints sharply as she glances back at them, her tone leaving no room for argument. So, she says, they must remain silent, listen carefully, and finally understand what fate has in store for them. The tension in the hall hangs heavy as one of the summoned boys forces himself to calm down. Leonora tries to speak as reasonably as she can. She insists that they mean no harm and she would just explain everything about the strange world they've been brought into. The students stand frozen, eyes wide with disbelief. Leonora continues, now addressing everyone. They deserve to know why they were taken from their lives and summoned to this unfamiliar world. Her words echo in the vast, shadowed chamber. Leonora's pair of gleaming golden eyes cut through the silent hall. With an unblinking gaze, the priestess demands their attention. Her voice softens, yet carries an undeniable authority as she urges them to quiet down and listen. She begins her explanation. The world they now stand in teeters on the edge of annihilation. Entire nations crumble, and humanity grows thinner by the day. The culprit behind this catastrophe is none other than the demon lord, whose sudden invasion has brought ruin across the land. The priestess places a hand over her heart, sorrow threading through her voice. She speaks of Degarast, the holy nation, her homeland, which has tirelessly resisted the demonic forces. But even with all their strength and faith, their efforts were not enough. Her hand clenches tightly, the fabric of her sleeve gathering beneath her grip. The truth is harsh and undeniable. Despite all their attempts, they could not stop the invasion. Among the students, Kai watches quietly, expression unreadable. The mention of a demon lord doesn't surprise him. Rather, he mutters internally that this story feels all too familiar, almost cliché. The priestess lifts an arm gracefully, light shimmering around her. Her voice rings with solemn resolve as she declares that the world's final hope now rests on them, the summoned heroes. Wave of shock ripples through the students. The pink-haired girl stiffens, while the boy beside her leans forward, eyes wide. His voice cracks as he asks the question weighing on all of them. Are they really expected to defeat the demon lord? Another student laughs nervously, attempting to dismiss the idea. It sounds ridiculous, impossible. None of them have ever fought a real battle, let alone faced the greatest threat to this world. Confusion and fear spread among the group as they question how they, ordinary students, could ever fulfill such a role. One of the girls glances around nervously, her voice trembling as she speaks up. The truth is, she admits not all of them are strong enough to handle something like this. Her words hit painfully close as another student breaks down completely. Tears stream down her face as she sobs uncontrollably, pleading between hiccups. Some of them are terrified, some can barely think straight. Please, she cries, just send me back home. The knight steps forward with a cold, unyielding expression. Whether they accept it or not, he says they are here and that fact won't change. There is only one path that leads back to the world they came from. His eyes sharpen, voice slicing through the air with absolute finality. To return home, they must defeat the demon lord. There is no alternative, no negotiation, no escape. Shock ripples across the students. Ryoya stammers in disbelief, unable to accept the enormity of what he just heard. Defeat a demon lord? Them? It sounds impossible. From behind a pillar, Kai watches quietly, analyzing everything. He can't tell whether the knight is stating the truth or simply manipulating them to harden their resolve. Still, Kai knows one thing for sure. Even if these kids were trained, even if they were forced to fight, they wouldn't become killers overnight. Experience is earned, not given. They need time, real combat, real struggle, and above all else they need talent. Without it, none of them stand a chance against a demon lord. Suddenly, Shunsuke, who had been injured earlier, grits his teeth, blood still dripping down his chin. His voice trembles with fury as he accuses the priestess and the knight of summoning them purely for selfish reasons. He raises his voice, trembling with rage. They dragged the entire class into this world, and now they're telling them they have no choice but to fight? To him, it's unforgivable. Unbelievable, he spits. You're the worst kind of scum. Shunsuke stood with a fierce glare shadowing his face, his eyes burning with hatred as he spat out that his enemy was the worst kind of scum. To him, it's unforgivable. Unbelievable, he spits. You're the worst kind of scum. Knight studies the enraged student with a hardened expression. Even after being struck down verbally and physically, the boy refuses to yield. In the knight's eyes, that stubbornness is a sign of potential, but also a warning of the trouble he might bring. With quiet resolve, the knight reaches for his weapon. If the boy cannot be controlled, then he must be removed. He decides coldly, he will eliminate the troublesome one before he becomes a bigger threat. But before steel can be drawn, a warm light blossoms between them. The priestess steps forward, her hand glowing with gentle radiance. Softly, she channels her power. May you're wound, she whispers. Be healed. Injured boy flinches as brilliance envelopes him. Moments later, the pain melts away. He touches his cheek in disbelief, eyes widening. The gash from earlier is completely gone. The priestess bows her head apologetically, her voice sincere and gentle. She offers a heartfelt apology for their earlier behavior, for the fear, the hostility, the confusion they caused. All she asks is their forgiveness. Another student watches, bewildered. She stares at the lingering sparkles in the air. What just happened? What is this strange, shimmering light surrounding them? Priestess answers with a serene smile. The power she used is called law sorcery, a divine technique fueled by the creator god's law energy. Through it, she can temporarily write a new law onto reality itself. She simplifies it with a soft laugh. In terms the students would understand, it's simply magic. From the shadows, Kai narrows his eyes, analyzing the situation. These people know far too much about Earth's concepts and terminology. This can't be their first time summoning people from another world. Priestess steps toward them again, the hem of her gown trailing lightly behind her. She explains that law sorcery, and their ability to wield it, is the central reason the students were summoned. Everything comes back to that power. The priestess raises her glowing hand toward Shuji, light gathering at her fingertips as she gently taps the air before him. Shuji stiffens in surprise, unsure of what is about to happen. A shock runs through him. His vision flashes with neon outlines, his heartbeat echoing loudly, "Batum," as something inside him responds to her power. A burst of brilliant light explodes from his hand. The girl closest to him gasps in panic, shouting his name as she jumps back. Shuji stares downward in disbelief as the glow intensifies. The dazzling radiance gathers into a shape, long, sharp, and solidifying. Shuji's eyes widen as he realizes what's forming in his grip. He stares at the gleaming blade now fully materialized. "The light from my hand turned into a sword," he exclaims, struggling to comprehend what just happened. The priestess smiles serenely, hands clasped, explaining softly that the energy she wields, law energy, can awaken the blessings within those summoned. She lowers her gaze with a hint of sorrow. She acknowledges how cruel it must feel to be brought to a strange world with no path home. Still bowing deeply, she pleads earnestly. She understands their fear, their shock, but despite it all, she begs them to help. "Please, lend us your strength." Shuji steps forward, speaking for the group. Even if they awaken their abilities, he admits they have no idea how to control or use them. The priestess reassures him. Training will be long and disciplined, but they will be supported and cared for by the nation throughout the process. Shuji hesitates for a moment, then quietly answers, "I understand." Shuji steps forward confidently, raising his voice to address the confused group. With determination in his eyes, he calls out for everyone's attention. Beside him, the pink-haired girl watches quietly, trusting his judgment. He explains the situation calmly but firmly. If they hope to survive in this strange new world, they must accept help, protection, and knowledge. Those are what they need most right now. Shuji continues, meeting the crowd's anxious gazes. If they learn to control their newly awakened blessings, those abilities will act as their lifeline when danger inevitably arrives. For now, he urges them to follow the goddess's instructions. Hearing Shuji's reasoning, the others begin nodding. One by one, they voice their agreement, tentative at first but gradually more certain. His words have steadied them. The goddess smiles softly, relieved by their willingness to cooperate. She thanks them with gentle sincerity. Then, with grace and calm authority, she announces that she will now awaken the blessings hidden within each of them. A swirl of sparkling light surrounds a girl as her pen rises effortlessly into the air. She observes it with quiet fascination. Her blessing is telekinesis. Another burst of golden light erupts as a fiery-haired boy grins fiercely, energy crackling from his hand. His blessing manifests with explosive power. One after another, students discover their abilities: glowing flames, energy swords, swirling auras. The courtyard fills with vibrant colors and odd gasps as everyone's powers take shape. The goddess looks around the group, listening to the murmurs of excitement and wonder. She asks gently if everyone has now received their blessing. Just then, a lone boy steps forward, raising his hand to declare that he is the last. The priestess reached out to touch Kai's chest, her calm demeanor masking an air of authority, as she excused her earlier distraction and announced that the ritual would now begin. Sudden electrical crackle distorts the air around Kai. Red light streaks erupt across his vision as he blinks in confusion. Something is wrong. His sight wavers, shapes blurring and sharpening at once. The distortion intensifies. His thoughts stumble as a piercing light floods his senses. Something's wrong with my vision. Before he can finish the thought, a blinding flare snaps open his eyes. A sharp ping echoes inside his head. His vision condenses into a single glowing image. His own eye, now burning bright red, as if awakened by a power he didn't know existed. A holographic screen suddenly materializes in front of Leonora, the High Priestess. Lines of data scroll rapidly, revealing her status in crisp detail. She looks startled, realizing Kai is somehow seeing her stats. She turns toward Kai, noticing at once what has changed. His once blue eyes now glow crimson. Calmly, she explains that his unusual blessing has awakened. Appraisal, a rare ability indeed. Kai repeats the word under his breath, uncertain. She clarifies. Appraisal grants him detailed information about people and objects, much like analyzing data with perfect clarity. Kai focuses his attention, testing this strange new sight. A sharp red flash ignites across his vision as the ability activates on instinct. Another ping pulses. A new screen materializes, this time showing his own stats. The details display his abilities: assassination, dagger mastery, stealth, skills far above what he expected. He stares at the information in disbelief. He absorbs the revelation. This feels unreal, almost like a game interface. The layout is clean, organized, easy to understand. He now fully grasps what appraisal does, and how powerful it could become. Before he can reflect further, a red-hot explosion detonates nearby as Shunsuke crashes into the ground with fiery force. Kai instinctively leaps back, skidding across the floor as the blast wave pushes him away. Chaos erupts around them. A thunderous shockwave ripples outward, the ground splitting open beneath Shunsuke's feet as flames dance across the newly made crater. The sheer force of his explosion still lingers in the air like a warning. Shunsuke grins proudly, raising his glowing fist as heat radiates off his skin. How was that? That was the power of my explosion, he boasts, eyes gleaming with self-satisfaction. Kai watched calmly, expression blank when Shunsuke demands, "So, what's your ability?" Kai's silence seems to irritate him further. "All you can do is turn your eyes red?" Shunsuke taunts. Behind him, Shunsuke and his group laugh together, confidence swelling after witnessing his flashy display. They stand over the cracked ground like victors claiming their stage. Away from the crowd, someone snickers quietly, mocking Kai from a distance. He acts like he's better than everyone. Serves him right, they whisper, amused. Kai watches all of them with a neutral expression, thoughts drifting. Why are they suddenly so confident? With so little information, we have no way of knowing which ability will truly matter in the end. His eyes darken as a deeper thought surfaces. Blessings are borrowed power. They can be taken away at any moment. A cold edge sharpens his gaze. And besides, killing someone doesn't require a blessing. There are plenty of other ways. He glances up, quiet but undeniably dangerous. The Saintess stands before the summoned students and calmly announces that she has confirmed every one of their newly awakened blessings. Her voice carries across the hall, steady and reassuring. She explains that while these powers may be difficult to control at first, time and training will sharpen them into weapons strong enough to pierce even the demon lord. With a gentle smile, she clasps her hands and dismisses them for the day. It has been long and exhausting for everyone, and she encourages them to rest. Night settles over the sanctuary. One by one, the students are guided to their private rooms, each lit softly by warm lamplight. Inside his room, the protagonist doesn't rest. Instead, he rises from the bed with a quiet determination. He tells himself he needs to gather information before turning in. Meanwhile, outside the castle walls, two guards patrol under the moonlight. One complains about being assigned to such a late shift, grumbling that it's impossible to see anything in this darkness. The second guard remarks that with hero candidates on the premises, they cannot afford to relax. Their vigilance must remain high. As they continue walking, they talk among themselves. Shouldn't hero candidates be able to protect themselves? But from what they've seen, the students still look inexperienced. None of them seem to have ever been in real combat. Their doubts only deepen. The thought of these kids defeating the demon lord seems absurd. Still, they assume Saintess Leonora must have some kind of plan. Hidden nearby, the protagonist listens from the shadows, leaning against a tree. He remains silent but thoughtful, analyzing every word. Noted that this was the third patrol he'd crossed paths with tonight. From their tense chatter and alert movements, it was clear the security around here was on high alert. Kai activated his ability Appraisal, trying to get more information from the guards. Glowing status window materializes before the guard, revealing his information in cold, clinical detail. The protagonist studies it silently. Name, Dean. Age, 31. Tac, E. Defense, D. Agility, F. Ability, Sword Mastery LV. One that he assesses the man with a calm, analytical tone. Sword mastery is the guard's only skill. As he retreats into the shadows, he reflects on the risk he had considered earlier. I thought using law sorcery might expose me, but apparently not everyone here is capable of using it. Realizing this, he darts forward with renewed confidence, sprinting through the dimly lit courtyard. He glances sharply to the side, his mind racing as he processes everything he's observed tonight. I've done a quick sweep of the castle, he thinks, eyes narrowing. Mental image of the complex flashes through his mind, a fortress built on elevated ground, surrounded by walls and layered settlements. As a standard fortress, he concludes, mapping out every corner mentally. Back at the massive front gate, guards stand watch, barely suppressing yawns. The night drags on, but no one dares to lower their guard with hero candidates inside. The protagonist watches from afar, wishing he could investigate deeper. I'd like to see what's inside the inner walls, but as he observes the torchlit gate, he realizes the truth. There are too many guards, and the structure makes infiltration nearly impossible. Settles into the tall grass, rustling quietly as he hides himself. There's no need to rush, he reassures himself. I've learned enough for tonight. But then, a sudden noise catches his attention. Out in the open field, a trio of girls from his class surveys their surroundings. One of them cheerfully declares, "This spot's perfect. There's nothing around." Two of the girls step forward hesitantly. One nervously voices her concerns. She doesn't think sneaking out is a good idea. They're not supposed to leave their rooms. Her friend shrugs off the worry with a smirk. "Don't tell me you're getting cold feet. We're just practicing our blessings. Relax. If anyone gets in trouble, it'll just be Mireille." Aina steps forward confidently, raising her hand as a flame ignites at her fingertip. "We can't sleep anyway," she says, the fire reflecting in her eyes. "And this is actually good practice for us." The flame flares brightly with a whoosh, bathing the scene in warm orange light. The three girls begin practicing their blessings under the night sky. Flames bloom in Reina's hands. Another girl conjures glowing green energy, and a third shapes swirling water. Their powers illuminate the clearing in vibrant colors, fire, life, and water dancing freely in the dark. Behind a rock, the protagonist quietly observes them. His expression remains unreadable as his eyes follow every movement, analyzing their abilities with calculated precision. He studies the magic in their hands, intrigued. "Blessings, huh?" he muses, watching the flames flicker. He still has many questions about how this world works, and he hopes observing them might give him answers. Maybe watching them practice will help me understand more. Suddenly, a chill runs up his spine. His instincts flare violently. His body stiffens as a wave of danger washes over him. Something is wrong. He whirls around sharply, eyes widening. "I sense something." His gaze darts across the field, searching for the source of the threat. In the distance, the rustling grass grows louder. One of the girls freezes, her voice trembling as she peers into the darkness. Hey, do you hear that?" The sound continues, rustle after rustle, growing closer. Other two girls step back uneasily, shoulders tense. "Why yeah," one mutters, fear creeping into her voice. "What could it be?" The grass parts, the noises intensifying. A massive creature bursts out of the tall grass with a heavy whoosh, towering, reptilian, and armored with plates of gleaming scales. Its glowing eyes lock onto them, hunger and hostility radiating from its posture. The three girls gasp, shock and terror flooding their faces. What the heck is that? Their blessings, once a playful exercise, now seem woefully insufficient. From his hidden vantage point, the assassin studies the creature. It looks like a lizard, but nothing like anything from our world. He leans forward, evaluating its size, movements, and threat level, already formulating a plan. A sharp red light flashes in the protagonist's eye as he narrows his gaze on the creature. Without speaking aloud, he triggers his ability, analyzing the monster with a single, focused thought, appraisal. A stream of information begins forming in his vision, but something feels off. The readout doesn't show a personal name, only the species. He frowns slightly, puzzled by the incomplete data. The creature's stats materialize one after another, revealing its capabilities. As he reads them, his expression shifts from curiosity to concern. The numbers make one thing painfully clear. Its strength far surpasses anything those girls can handle. That's the real issue, he thinks. They don't stand a chance against this thing. Ahead of him, the lizard lifts its head, its jaw stretching open as it pulls in a massive breath. The air around it distorts, hinting at the power it's about to unleash. A thunderous roar erupts from the creature, shaking the ground beneath it. The sound rips through the quiet night, followed by low, menacing growls as it lowers its body to charge. The girls scream in panic, instinct taking over as they turn and sprint away. Their earlier confidence vanishes instantly, replaced by raw fear. The monster lunges forward, tearing across the field with frightening speed. The grass parts violently in its wake, the earth thudding under each pounding step as it races after them. From atop a distant rock, the boy watches silently. His mind remains steady even as chaos unfolds below. The creature's intent is obvious. It's fully hostile. It attacked the moment it saw movement. It studies its movements closely, breaking them down with a trained eye. It's fast, undeniably so, but its approach is straightforward and reckless. Charging blindly, strong but not smart. His thoughts settle as he evaluates its armor. The scales look durable but not impenetrable. A blade should still be enough. With that conclusion, he lets a knife slide into his hand, preparing himself for what comes next. With an agile move, he throws the knife with accuracy. Thrown knife plunges into the creature's hide with a wet, sickening stab. Blood sprays outward as the veil lizard shrieks in pain. The creature recoils, letting out a furious, guttural roar as it thrashes. Meanwhile, the boy watches calmly from behind a tree, noting how the blade slipped from his grip after impact. He studies the situation with composed detachment. The knife did hit, but the damage is minimal, he observes, realizing the creature's scales are far tougher than expected. Not far away, the three girls continue running desperately, breaths ragged and uneven as panic drives their legs forward. But one misstep ruins their momentum. Reina's foot catches on a rock, sending her stumbling forward as she gasps in surprise. She hits the ground hard, rolling across the grass with a thud. Her friends shout her name in panic, urging Chinami to hurry and help her up. Reina sits up with a groan, wincing as she rubs the side of her head. Behind her, a massive shadow looms, unnoticed for the moment. A soft hiss reaches her ears. Reina's eyes widen as she turns, sensing something wrong. The veil lizard towers behind her, its eyes glowing and jaw trembling with a low, venomous hiss. Danger is now directly upon her. Reina gasps sharply, panic flooding her face as she whispers, "Oh no!" Above her, the monster raises one colossal claw, already swinging down toward her helpless form. Someone screams her name in terror. Reina squeezes her eyes shut and raises her arms in a desperate attempt to shield herself, bracing for the monster's fatal blow. Her entire body trembles as she prepares for the impact she's sure she can't avoid. A violent crash echoes through the night, but not against her. Reina slowly opens her eyes, startled, realizing something massive has just slammed into the ground instead of her. Still shaking, she looks down and sees the monster collapsed beneath her. A knife is buried deep in its skull, blood dripping from the wound. The sudden shift leaves her frozen, unable to comprehend what happened. Her eyes soften with confusion and disbelief. Tears cling to her lashes as she whispers, barely audible, "Huh?" She can't understand how she's still alive. From above, the full scene is clear. The great beast lies motionless, a fatal strike delivered straight through its head. Reina sits in front of it, trembling, still processing her narrow escape. Her friends rush toward her, panic turning into immense relief. "Reina!" they cry as they grab her arms, helping her up, overwhelmed that she's unharmed. Glance at the monster's corpse, eyes wide. "What just happened?" one asks. Another stammers, Did someone save us?" The knife sticking out of the beast is their only clue. The girls decide quickly, this place is far too dangerous. "Let's just get out of here." "Why yeah, I don't want to run into another monster." Together, they hurry away, unaware of the shadow still lurking nearby. Leaning against the trees, the boy steps from hiding, watching them leave. "Are they gone?" he murmurs. He hadn't needed to intervene, yet something about leaving them to die had felt wrong. He pulls the bloodied knife from the monster's skull. "I didn't expect to run into a monster," he mutters to himself. "Are they common in this world?" With a sigh, he wipes the blade. "I'd better keep my guard up." His eyes widen suddenly. Something catches his attention in the distance. As the corpse of the monster slumps sideways, the boy steadies it with both hands, easing it down to avoid making noise. The night air trembles with the faint sound of wings folding against the creature's still body. The forest falls into an unnatural hush, an eerie silence that feels deliberate rather than peaceful. Even the breeze seems to stop. From behind the fallen beast, the boy's eyes narrow, a sharp glint cutting through the darkness. Something is wrong. He can feel it. He crouches lower, peering over the monster's body. There's definitely a presence nearby. His instincts coil tight, warning him to move. A cold click of realization hits him as his muscles tense. "TSK, I need to go." Without hesitation, he prepares to slip away. A burst of speed, he dashes from behind the corpse, leaving only streaks of motion in the moonlight as he disappears into the distance. Elsewhere, near an ancient stone monolith, a hooded figure steps into view, its arrival quiet and deliberate, as though it had been watching all along. Footsteps echo through the dark before a sudden, violent stomp crushes the fallen monster's head, splattering blood across the ground. The hooded figure gazes down with disdain. How disappointing. The hero candidates are nothing but kids. Its lips curl into a chilling smile, but one among them reeks of our kind. A slow, unsettling lick drags across its lips, promising danger. The heavy thud of a lifeless creature echoes across the courtyard as the monster's massive head collapses onto the stone tiles, its tongue rolling out in one final, grotesque slump. Gasps ripple through the gathered students. Shocked murmurs rise. Some recoil instinctively, while others stare wide-eyed at the fallen beast. One student even flinches back with a startled, "Eek!" An instructor steps forward beside the enormous corpse, addressing the shaken group. He begins gravely, "Last night, this monster appeared near the city." Students react with a mix of curiosity and unease. Amid the murmurs, Shuji watches silently, thoughtful but unreadable. Meanwhile, Shunsuke scowls, clearly disturbed but trying to mask his reaction, as whispers continue around him. A trembling girl clutches her hands to her chest, her heartbeat audible in her ears. "A monster?" she whispers, fear gripping her tightly. Instructor continues his explanation, voice stern. "Monsters are servants of the demon lord. They're violent and crave human flesh. Before long, you'll be fighting them yourselves." He turns to another individual beside him. "Steady, do you have anything to share?" Steady, adjusting his glasses, reports calmly despite the grisly remains. "I found traces of demonism in its body. It was probably cast by a high-ranking demon." The instructor speculates aloud, "Maybe they came to test the strength of our hero candidates." From behind a column, the protagonist listens discreetly, observing everything with sharp eyes. Protagonist processes this new information, eyes narrowing. Demonism? That's another new term. Is it different from law sorcery? He keeps his thoughts hidden, analyzing quietly. Shuji steps forward, eyeing the dissected monster. Calmly but sharply, he summarizes the situation. The creature wasn't acting on its own. It had been controlled by a demon. The eccentric researcher springs upright with excitement, praising the protagonist's quick understanding. He explains that powerful demons use a special ability, subjugation, to bind monsters to their will. The researcher continues animatedly, describing how demons manipulate corrupted creatures, rambling deep into theory until the old master cuts him off, dismissing him before he can get any more carried away. Dragged away mid-rant, the researcher protests loudly, eager to keep analyzing the specimen. The other students erupt in laughter while the protagonist quietly assesses him, noting that despite his odd behavior, the man might be a valuable source of information. But the protagonist's thoughts darken. The true threat isn't the monster lying dead before them. It's the fact that someone strong enough to control it was nearby. His mind flashes back to the moment he checked the monster's status. The ominous word stands out, subjugated. He recalls last night's fleeting, chilling sensation, an overwhelming presence cloaked in fiery demonic aura. The realization hits him. That presence must have been a demon. He reflects on how brief the detection was. Whoever that entity is, it's incredibly skilled, and possibly still close. His expression hardens as he scans the area. Sudden shiver runs down his spine. The world around him darkens, as if the air itself distorts. His instincts scream something is watching. Unseen by the students, a twisted grin forms in the surrounding darkness. A malicious presence lurks nearby, silently mocking his realization. The threat isn't gone. It's right there, waiting. A distorted, sinister shadow ripples in the air behind the protagonist, its laughter echoing faintly, mocking, taunting. The boy stiffens, refusing to show fear. He inhales sharply, steadying himself, declaring inwardly that he won't be intimidated. Around him, the students whisper in confusion as he gasps for breath, trying to regain composure. Shunsuke steps forward, his expression hardened with resolve. He insists that if defeating the Demon Lord is the only way to return home, then he's willing to face that path. He admits he wants nothing more than to leave this unfamiliar world as quickly as possible. Another student, usually composed and quiet, steps up beside him. For once, she acknowledges that the impulsive classmate is right. Shunji watches as more students start nodding, this time with genuine determination. He agrees with them. If they hope to return home, fighting is unavoidable. In the corner, however, fear still grips some of the students. One girl breaks down in tears, trembling as she whispers that these creatures they must face are real, true monsters. A friend stands beside her, unsure how to comfort her. Observing them, the protagonist reflects quietly. This incident has shattered the illusion for many who still thought this was some kind of fantasy game. In reality, battles here mean fighting for their lives, a truth unchanged even in another world. The sooner everyone accepts that weight, he thinks, the better their chances of survival. Steps echo softly as a woman in elegant white attire approaches. The priestess speaks gently, urging everyone to calm down and reassuring them that there is no need for panic or haste. She tells them they must first learn how to properly use the powers granted to them. Such growth, she says, requires patience, training, and time. Her calm voice settles the chaos like a soothing breeze. Bathed in radiant light, she reminds them that they are not ordinary students anymore. They are hero candidates, chosen from another world. Because of that, they possess the potential to grow and learn far faster than normal people. Time passes and a week slips by. The students immerse themselves in the training regime laid out for them, struggling to adapt to their new lives. In the quiet of the academy library, the protagonist sits alone at a wooden table, studying intently. As he flips through another ancient text, he realizes something surprising. They can read every language in this world without difficulty. In fact, ever since they arrived, none of them have had any trouble communicating at all. It's as though some unseen force ensured their full understanding from the moment they were summoned. Through the quiet of the library, a sudden wave of noise breaks in from outside. The boy pauses mid-sentence, looking up from his book as the lively clamor of training drifts through the window. Outside, the training grounds are alive with movement, students swinging wooden swords, sprinting across the field, and practicing spells under the instructor's eyes. The contrast between the library's silence and the chaos outside is unmistakable. He watches them from behind the glass, expression calm and detached. He recalls the explanation given to him earlier. He had been excused from training, since his skill appraisal held no direct combat value. Instead, he was permitted, pushed really, into spending his days in the library. He remembers the priestess's cheerful suggestion, her voice light and unconcerned. Why not spend some time reading? The students nearby had snickered at the remark, finding amusement in his exclusion. Now he closes another book, one among the many he has consumed over the past week. He has practically emptied the shelves of history and civilization. As he sets the book aside, he silently notes what he expected. This place holds no information about demons. The sky above the training grounds is bright and clear as the students continue their drills. The noise carries across the courtyard, energetic and relentless, evidence of their growing strength. Leaning quietly against a wall, he observes them from afar. Laughter rings out as students celebrate each other's improvements. He admits to himself, Leonora had been right. They're all developing far faster than ordinary humans. His eyes fall on one of the standout students, Ryoya, whose sword slashes forward with impressive force. Then Shunsuke, unleashing explosive strength with each strike of his fists. Rin's magic ripples outward, forming circles of power that make nearby students flinch. He continues evaluating them. Mireille lifts an enormous boulder with ease, manipulating it through the air with magic that looks effortless. Students around her watch in shock and awe. And then there's Reina, fire bursting from her hands like living serpents, curling around her form with lethal heat. Her flames roar so intensely that even from a distance, the power is unmistakable. These five, among all the hero candidates, they shine brighter than the rest. As he watches the bustling training grounds, the protagonist narrows his eyes in realization. Among all of them, one person stands out above the rest, someone whose growth borders on impossible. Startled cry echoes across the yard as a sword is knocked violently into the air, spinning skyward with a sharp clang. The blade plunges back down like a meteor, slamming into the ground just inches from two trainees, who stumble back in shock as dust erupts around them. Trainer, defeated and breathless, lifts his hand in surrender. You win. Incredible. How did you surpass me so quickly? The young swordsman responsible stands poised, his glowing blade cutting through the air with confidence. His movements are clean, powerful, almost elegant. He smiles modestly, brushing off the praise with an easy grin. I owe it all to your excellent teaching, he says. Thank you. On the sidelines, the protagonist's eyes flare crimson as he activates his appraisal skill, focusing sharply on the gifted trainee. A glowing display appears before him. Shuji Mito's stats. Just a week ago, the boy's attributes had barely scraped the lower ranks, but now, almost all of them sit shockingly high. This rate of growth shouldn't be possible. Even for a prodigy, the numbers are absurd. The protagonist frowns beneath his hood, wondering if Shuji's blessing influences more than just combat ability. A lively group approaches the area, Shunsuke among them. But two of the boys break away with sneers, calling out to the protagonist. Hey, you're not even suited for combat. What are you doing here at the training grounds? They wave dismissively. Stick to your books. Boy leans against the wall, arms crossed, watching the group approach. In his mind, he acknowledges the familiar hostility. Those two have always been on my case, he thinks. That much I understand. His gaze shifts to the others, the smug blonde student smirking in amusement. But why are the rest of them looking down on me too? He wonders, irritation flickering beneath his calm expression. Two girls whisper among themselves, smiling arrogantly. Their attitude only deepens his confusion. Do they really think they're superior now just because they gained powers? One of the boys steps forward, voice raised, acting as if he's doing the boy a favor. Hey, didn't you hear me? I asked you a question. So much for trying to be friendly. He reaches out aggressively, as though expecting obedience. Before the hand can reach him, the boy's foot snaps out, swift and precise. A sharp FWIP cuts through the air as the attacker's balance shatters. The larger boy crashes violently into the ground with a heavy thud, legs flailing as he lands flat on his back, completely stunned. The protagonist looked down calmly and asked with feigned concern, "Are you okay? You suddenly collapsed." The onlookers stare, baffled. The bully lies sprawled awkwardly on the ground, face red with embarrassment. Whispering spreads through the crowd as confusion thickens. Huh? Someone mutters. What just happened? Student steps forward sharply, irritation flashing in his eyes. You little, he starts, but their leader cuts him off with a low command. Drop it, she's coming. Everyone turns as a serene. The priestess steps forward from the archway, escorted by a stern elder. Her presence alone is enough to silence the entire yard. The priestess's serene smile lingers as she turns her gaze toward the boy in the hood. Even from a distance, her expression radiates calm grace, so gentle that the noisy training grounds momentarily feel still. Her arrival instantly captures everyone's attention. The scattered trainees halt mid-movement, staring in surprise as the holy figure steps onto the field. Weapons lower, conversations stop, and even the most rowdy students quiet down. With a warm, glowing smile, she addresses them all. Her voice, soft yet commanding, carries across the grounds as she thanks everyone for their attention. She continues speaking, explaining that their overall progress has far surpassed her expectations. Because of this, she announces her decision. The entire training schedule will be moved forward. One of the blonde boys steps forward, startled. He nervously asks if this means they are already being sent to fight the demon lord. But she shakes her head gently, reassuring him that she doesn't expect anything that extreme from them. Not yet. Instead, she reveals their new objective. Her eyes sharpen slightly as she declares that the next phase of their training will involve direct combat against monsters. The words hit the trainees hard. A few boys exchange anxious glances, the tension rising as they repeat the phrase to themselves. Combat training. The girls react similarly, unease spreading across their faces. The reality sinks in. They won't just be practicing anymore. They'll actually be facing monsters. Meanwhile, the protagonist watches quietly. A bead of sweat traces down his cheek, but his expression remains composed, almost unfazed. Though the others tremble, he seems to brace himself silently for what's coming. The students gather at the forest's edge as the priestess addresses them, her voice gentle but firm. She explains that their upcoming combat training will take place deep within the woods, where the environment itself will test them as much as the monsters. The old instructor steps forward, his sharp gaze sweeping over the group. He reminds them that fighting as a large crowd won't help them grow. Relying on numbers would only hold them back in real battles. As the priestess offers a warm, reassuring smile, the old instructor continues. Instead of a single formation, he tells them to break into smaller groups, teams of 2 or 3, so they can develop their own strengths and coordination. Excitement ripples through the crowd. One girl immediately turns to Shuji with a grin, asking if he wants to pair up. Shuji agrees easily, flashing a relaxed smile, just as another classmate steps in, asking if he can join their team too. Not far away, 2 boys confidently approach Shunsuke, proclaiming their loyalty. They boast that they'll take down any monster that stands in his way. Shunsuke barely reacts, shrugging off their enthusiasm with a bored, "Yeah, whatever." Elsewhere, another mismatched duo forms. A girl sighs in disbelief, wondering aloud how she ended up partnered with the cheerful blonde boy beside her. He waves off her concerns, insisting that things will turn out great. Instructor checks over the gathered students and asks if everyone has found their team. But something catches his attention, 2 students who clearly haven't joined anyone yet. Standing apart from the crowd, a blonde girl and the hooded boy, our protagonist, linger in silence. Neither has approached anyone, and neither seems eager to. The girl finally breaks her composure, frustrated that no one asked her to team up. The reason becomes painfully clear as a group of classmates tremble nearby, too intimidated to approach her. Resigned, she turns to the hooded boy and states that, like it or not, they're now a team. She looks to him for confirmation. He responds quietly, unfazed, saying he doesn't mind partnering with her. Rin Kanzaki, calm, composed, and dignified, stands with unwavering confidence. Her aura alone makes it clear why she carries such a reputation. She is confident, cool-headed, undeniably proud, a girl who moves with purpose and refuses to let anyone stand in her way. Noticing the intense stare directed at her, Rin glances back, eyes narrowing slightly in suspicion. She turns fully toward him, arms folded. "Why are you staring at me?" Her tone sharp, as if challenging him. He doesn't flinch. Calmly, he replies, "No reason. I look forward to working with you." Rin huffs lightly, brushing off the moment with a dismissive flick of her hair. Up ahead, the priestess announced one final incentive. To make training more exciting, a reward will go to the team that defeats the most monsters. The students erupt in cheers, eager, competitive, and energized. "Give it all you've got," the instructor adds with a smile. And with that, the signal is given. Let the training begin. Sunlight filters through the forest canopy as the teams disperse into the woods. Branches rustle gently underfoot as Rin and her partner move along the trail, the quiet tension between them lingering. Rin steps forward confidently, declaring, "Let's get something straight. My blessing is the strongest. You don't have to lift a finger, just stay out of my way." He answers without hesitation, "Understood. I'll leave the monsters to you." He casts him a sideways glance, almost surprised. "Ha, I guess pride isn't your thing." But behind her, he observes silently, this will be a good chance to see Rin's skills. As they moved through the forest, Kai suddenly slowed his pace. A faint disturbance brushed against his senses, small, hostile presences stirring in the foliage. He narrowed his eyes. He could feel them clearly now. For monsters, nearby. Kai came to a complete stop. The air thickened around them, the subtle shift of shadows giving away what he already knew. They weren't just being watched, they were encircled. They were surrounded. Rustle broke the stillness. From the underbrush, a squat green creature lumbered into view, its jagged grin stretching unnaturally wide. It growled low in its throat, dragging a crude club along the ground as it approached. Rin immediately stepped forward, her gaze sharp as she recognized the creature. "It's a monster," she declared, bracing herself as more rustling echoed from the trees. With a shrill screech, the goblin charged. Its club swung high above its head as it sprinted toward them with murderous speed. Rin reacted instantly, thrusting out her hand as magic flared around her. "Get down!" she shouted, releasing a burst of brilliant pink energy that split the air around her. The goblin's charge ended abruptly. It crashed into the earth with a heavy thud, pinned in place by Rin's overwhelming force, unable to move a muscle. Kai watched silently, studying her movements. His eyes followed the flow of her magic, analyzing the way it bound the creature so completely. Realization struck him as he observed the goblin's helpless struggle beneath her glowing aura. So this was her blessing mind control, a power that let her seize a target's will and force it to obey her commands. Still focused, Rin kept her power active as more monsters stirred in the distance. "Rin, I sense more of them," he warned urgently. She nodded, still controlling the goblin. "All right, got it," she replied, preparing herself as the forest shifted again. Rin's command hits the goblin like a chain. Without resistance, the creature's wooden club slips from its grip and clatters across the dirt. Her voice sharpens with another order, and the glow around the goblin intensifies. It twists unnaturally, forcing its own hands behind its back as if shackled by invisible restraints. She exhales shakily, sweat gathering along her cheek. Rin notices immediately. He studies her strained breathing, and she admits between gasps, "Using my blessing takes a lot out of me." He assesses her condition with a calm, almost clinical eye, so her ability consumes a large amount of law energy. Unfazed, he gives the next instruction. "Then finish it. More monsters are on their way." She stiffens, startled. "What?" Her gaze drops to the bound goblin at her feet. Its eyes flicker with fear and malice as it growls pathetically. "Why, you mean kill it? But it looks almost human." Kai's tone hardens, cutting through her hesitation. "So what? It attacked us. They're our enemies. There's no reason to spare them." She bites her lip, torn between reason and reluctance. "Why, yeah, I know, but..." Kai crouches and quietly picks up a stone. Watching her waver, he reflects silently. Even with a blessing, she still thinks like an ordinary person. The bushes rustle around them, warnings of more enemies closing in. Kai weighs the stone in his hand, eyes narrowing. What really matters is whether she can pull the trigger when the moment demands it. As he thinks this, goblins shuffle out from all sides, teeth bared, surrounding them once more. Rin's power flares again, pink light swirling violently around her as she stands her ground. Her companion calls her name in warning, but she cuts him off with a strange shout. She already knows what she has to do. Another wave of monsters crashes to the ground under the crushing force of her command. The words "get down" echo in the air as the creatures slam onto the dirt with a trembling thud. Rin gasps for breath, sweat beading on her skin as she holds her spell. Her arm trembles from overexertion. Beside her, Kai watches quietly, asking what they should do next. Still panting, Rin snaps back, saying she's thinking that he shouldn't just stand there watching her struggle and should at least do something to help. He responds calmly, reminding her that she was the one who insisted he not interfere. Flustered and irritated, Rin groans, calling him annoying. After a brief pause, she relents and declares that she'll handle it herself. She steps forward, gathering her strength. With a sharp sweep of her arm, she unleashes her power once more, commanding the monsters with chilling authority. Her voice rings through the trees as she gives a gruesome order, telling the monsters to twist their own necks until they break. Monsters obey. Their hands clamp onto their heads, their bodies convulse, and sickening cracks pierce the air as their necks snap under her command. Silence slowly returns. Rin stands trembling, chest rising and falling in quick breaths as her companion observes her from behind. The toll of her blessing, and the horror of what she's forced, hangs heavily between them. Kai exhales softly, violet eyes widening with quiet disbelief. Even he hadn't expected things to go so smoothly. A beat later, her calm reply follows, measured and pragmatic. The harder the order, the slimmer the odds of success. What just happened wasn't certainty or skill alone. It was luck. Rin turns away, her hand rising to cover her mouth as doubt creeps in. After seeing the enemies up close, after witnessing their faces and reactions, hesitation gnaws at her heart. Her green eyes tremble, sweat beading at her temple. In a hushed, conflicted whisper, she admits she's no longer sure she made the right choice. The scene shifts to the aftermath, broken bodies scattered across the dirt, lifeless and silent. Kai's voice cuts through the unease, firm and unyielding. He reminds Rin that they were attacked first. These were enemies. And in this world, the rule is absolute. Whether monster or human, enemies must be killed. There is no room for doubt, only survival. His expression hardens, eyes narrowing with quiet resolve. Inwardly, he admits to himself that the situation will only grow more dangerous, and that staying composed is the only way they'll make it out alive. She watches him with a mix of irritation and disbelief, unable to understand how he can remain so unfazed. Her brow tightens as she questions him, wondering how someone who doesn't even possess notable strength can look so calm. He simply shrugs off her concern, replying with casual confidence. Boldness, he claims, is his true advantage. As he inspects the fallen creature without much interest, she can only stare, unsure what to make of him. He turns toward her, voice steady as he asks their next move. Should they continue forward or retreat before another threat appears? She steps forward, posture stiff with determination. The hesitation she showed earlier is gone as she assesses the forest ahead, weighing her pride against the danger. With sharp huff, she dismisses the idea of turning back entirely. Without waiting for him, she pushes onward, her cloak sweeping behind her as she strides deeper into the woods. He watches her from behind, recognizing the facade she wears. She may act tougher than she is, but there's genuine strength beneath her bravado, strength that's beginning to surface. He continues observing her determined steps, sensing that it won't be long before she's ready for a real battle. Soon, she'll be able to stand her ground without hesitation. As the sunlight breaks through the canopy above, he shifts his thoughts away from her and wonders how the others are faring in this chaotic forest. The scene cuts away to someone sprinting through the woods, the ground kicking up beneath their feet as they race through the foliage in a panicked rush. Panic erupts as they bolt forward, the scenery blurring around them. One of them glances back mid-run, shouting in alarm, unsure of what to do next. The reply comes just as frantically, "Don't ask me. This place was supposed to be safe. The monsters were supposed to be weak." But their pounding footsteps say otherwise, fear driving them onward with no plan and no time to think. The two students finally stop running, chests heaving, as panic gives way to a desperate resolve. Realizing they can't escape, they force themselves to stand their ground. One calls out that they have no choice, they must fight, while the other quickly gathers her mana, vowing to support him. Magic flares to life around them. Verdant wind spirals up the boy's arms as he summons his elemental power, shouting for the winds to awaken. Beside him, the girl calls upon the earth, her voice steady despite her fear, willing the ground itself to rise at her command. Their combined spells converge, wind twisting into a spiraling vortex, lifting a massive boulder torn from the earth. The swirling green energy hurls the stone forward with overwhelming force, the impact booming as it crashes against their target. As the dust settles, dread creeps up their spines. The creature shakes off the debris with an almost casual shrug. Its crimson plates glint ominously as it steps forward, completely unfazed. Pebbles crumble and roll away from its feet as the monster rises to its full, intimidating height. Shock floods their faces. Their strongest coordinated attack left not even a scratch. Fear threatens to swallow their courage whole. The boy gasps, voice cracking as he demands to know what kind of monster could withstand such force. Even the girl, though calmer, admits the terrifying truth. This isn't just bad. This is far worse than they expected. The creature emerges fully from the dust cloud, a massive, red-armored beast, its eyes glowing with murderous intent, drool dripping from its jaws. Each heavy step sends a pulse of fear through the air. The students can only stare as the monster fixes its gaze on them and prepares to strike. Against the vast, star-streaked expanse of a cosmic sky, she steels her resolve. No matter the cost, she vows to find her way back home. Her thoughts drift to the man who raised her, her grandfather. He had given her everything, shaping her world, her values, her life. The thought of leaving him behind weighs heavily on her heart. She imagines him alone now, probably devastated by her absence. The memory of his warm smile and gentle presence tightens her chest. But sorrow gives way to determination. Clutching the fabric over her heart, she sets a promise in stone. She will return, and when she does, she and her grandfather will share a peaceful, happy life together. Her focus shifts back to the forest path as she walks beside him. He warns that continuing straight without caution might get them lost. She counters bluntly, puzzled by his concern. To her, it's just a straight path. What's confusing about that? He looks at her with that same unreadable expression and replies coolly, hinting at her inexperience. Forests don't work the way she thinks. Her face flushes with irritation. She snaps back with a curt, "Shut up," even as she casts a sideways glance at him, annoyance simmering. Inside, her thoughts churn. He's been acting smug from the moment they met, aloof, confident, inscrutable. Who does he think he is? He catches her looking his way, and immediately he asks why she's staring. Embarrassed, she quickly turns away, dismissing it as nothing, just as a distant scream suddenly tears through the forest canopy. The forest falls quiet as the boy turns his head, violet eyes sharpening at a distant sound. Trouble, there's no mistaking it. Behind him, the girl stiffens, sensing the same tension creeping through the air. In a low, steady voice, he asks the only question that matters now. What's the plan? She doesn't hesitate, of course they're going to help. With urgency sharpening her steps, she mutters that she only hopes they're not too late. Her companion glances up in mild surprise. He hadn't expected such decisiveness from her. She snaps back at him, demanding what he thought she was. Some heartless monster? With a swift turn, she urges him to hurry. Meanwhile, miles or moments away, a battered figure crashes into the ground. Mireille lies trembling, her strength barely holding. Her companion shouts her name in panic. He rushes toward her, terrified by the sight. Through ragged breaths, Mireille insists she's fine, barely, and orders him to run while he still can. He refuses outright. There is no universe where he leaves her behind. A heavy stomp shakes the ground, dread washing over him as he lifts his gaze. Towering above them is the monster, its arm raised high for the killing blow. All he can do is curse under his breath. But before the strike lands, a surge of radiant magic crashes down from above. A commanding voice echoes through the clearing, ordering the beast to stop, its massive paw jerking midair as glowing restraints begin to bind it. Rin stands firm at the front, her hand glowing with a bright, trembling magic as she forces the raging beast to a halt. Behind her, Ryoya gasps in relief, shouting her name in shock. He drops to Mireille's side, clutching her with trembling hands. Rin doesn't look back. She can't afford to. "I can't hold it for long," she warns through clenched teeth. Ai steps forward, calm amid the chaos, his eyes fixed on both Rin and the immobilized monster. His presence cuts through the panic, steady and focused, already analyzing the situation. With a sharp glance at Rin, Kai observes her magic. "Just as I thought, her blessing strength shifts depending on what she's trying to control." His voice breaks through the tension. "Ryoya, how's Mireille?" Ryoya looks up, sweat on his brow from worry. "Kai, she's in pain, but she's breathing." Mireille lies limp, her face scratched and pale, but still conscious enough to groan. Kai turns fully toward them, his expression hardening. "Grab her and get out of here, now." This isn't a suggestion, it's an order. Ryoya hesitates, torn between pride and fear. "And no, let me help you," he begs, voice cracking. Leaving Kai alone feels wrong, but leaving Mireille suffering feels worse. Mireille winces, barely able to lift her head. Each breath is a struggle. "Ugh," Ryoya's face twists. He knows what he has to choose. Finally nods, lifting Mireille onto his back despite her weak protests. "You're right, I'll get her somewhere safe," he says, determination returning. Kai gives final instructions. "If you run into Shuji or Leonora, ask for backup." "Got it." As Ryoya rushes off, Kai steps forward alone, eyes sharpening. Now he thinks, gaze fixed on the trapped beast. Kai activates his ability. His eye flashes red, the air ringing with the sound of ping. The monstrous creature trembles violently within Rin's restraining magic as Kai begins his appraisal. "Let's see what we're dealing with." His vision snaps into focus as power surges through his eye. With a sharp command, he activates his skill, Appraisal. A piercing pulse ripples outward, information rushing in as the world seems to ping in response, revealing what was hidden just moments before. The appraisal window locks onto the raging beast, data flooding his vision. An armor bear and not a normal one. The designation mutant stands out immediately, along with stats that spell trouble. His focus narrows as the numbers sink in. High overall stats, but the defense rating is especially alarming. This isn't something that can be taken lightly. Close look at the creature's body confirms it. Thick hide, layered muscle, natural armor built to endure punishment. Even a direct hit would barely leave a mark. He exhales quietly, coming to a blunt conclusion. With that kind of protection, he doubts he could even scratch it. But one word lingers in his mind, glowing on the interface. Mutant. His gaze sharpens as a new question forms. What exactly does that mean? Breath comes out in ragged gasps. Panic finally spills over as she admits she can't hold on anymore, her chest heaving as exhaustion takes its toll. The monster lunges. With a violent roar and a crushing swish, its massive armored arms slam down, shaking the ground as Kai and Rin narrowly keep their distance. Kai snaps his head back, eyes sharp and voice firm despite the chaos. They've bought Ryoya enough time. That's all they needed. It's time to go now. Rin reacts instantly, forcing out a shaky acknowledgement as she turns to run, fear tightening her expression. But her body betrays her. She stumbles, dropping to her knees with a dull thud, confusion flashing across her face as she realizes something's wrong. Her legs tremble uncontrollably against the dirt. Tears well as she calls out to Kai, voice breaking. No matter how hard she tries, they won't move. The monster stomps with a thunderous crash. Stones and dirt scatter as the massive limb slams into the ground just inches away. Rin freezes, staring at the armored limb looming beside her. Kai watches as a thought crosses his mind. This is bad. Without hesitation, Kai's hand snaps to his coat. In one fluid motion, he hurls a small object skyward. Canister spins once, then detonates midair. A dense cloud of smoke erupts, swallowing the clearing in seconds. The beast's furious roar echoes blindly through the haze. Hidden within the smoke, Kai watches calmly, already moving. An instant, he slips behind Rin and lifts her into his arms before she can react. She gasps in surprise, instinctively clutching his coat as her body leaves the ground. She freezes, eyes wide as she cover her mouth. Kai's warning is low and urgent. One sound too loud, and the monster will hear them. Swallowing her breath, she nods silently, forcing the panic down as she stifles every sound and holds perfectly still. They press themselves against the tree, barely daring to breathe. Behind them, the armored beast turns slowly, heavy steps thudding through the ground as its massive body pivots, searching. Rin's heart pounds so loudly she's sure it can be heard. Still hiding, she glances up in confusion, eyes flicking toward the fading haze in the air. In a hushed whisper, she asks what that smoke was. Kai answers calmly without looking back. It was a smoke grenade, something he put together while she was training. Then, in his thoughts alone, he admits the truth. That explanation was a lie, told only to keep her from worrying. He keeps his voice low as he explains. He's always carried a few weapons on him, even before being summoned to this world. There aren't many left now. That's why he saves them for situations that truly matter, real emergencies. The remaining tools reveal themselves in his thoughts. A pistol, a tactical knife, a jackknife, and the smoke grenade he just used to TO him. It's nothing special. Just the basics, Assassin 101. Rin hesitates before speaking, her voice trembling slightly as she apologizes. He turns to her, clearly puzzled. What for? She admits it quietly. After insisting she could handle things on her own, she still ended up needing his help. He answers without judgment. There's no need to apologize. Instead, she should simply say thank you. After a brief pause, she nods, cheeks flushing as she accepts it. Okay, thank you. Kai lets out a tired sigh, offering blunt, poorly timed advice. If she were kinder to others, maybe they wouldn't struggle so much just to approach her. Rin explodes in embarrassment and shock, shouting before she can stop herself. Kai immediately cuts her off, eyes half-lidded but serious. Don't make him repeat it, and keep her voice down. She clenches her jaw, swallowing her frustration with a quiet groan. Pressed against the tree, Rin lowers her voice to a whisper. They can't stay here. Should they run? Kai peers around the trunk, calm and certain. No, there's no need. A heavy stomp echoes through the forest. The armor bear stiffens, then flinches, sensing something new. Another presence descends, firm, deliberate footsteps cutting through the tension. A cold voice rings out, accusing and filled with resolve. Whoever hurt his friends will pay for it. 3 figures emerge from the trees. A knight at the center, flanked by 2 women, all radiating confidence and killing intent. The balance of the battlefield shifts instantly. With a sharp clang, Shuji steps forward, drawing his blade as brilliant blue mana surges around him. Light floods the clearing, his presence firm and unwavering as he calls out, identifying himself as a demon slayer. a declaration that carries both authority and intent. Demon Beast recoils, baring its fangs as it snarls in fury. Sparks of energy and drifting motes of light hang between them as the knight raises his sword, calm and resolute, locking eyes with the monster. In that charged instant, hunter and prey face each other, the battle about to truly begin.